In a small coffee shop nestled in the corner of a busy street, Jenna sat at her usual table, laptop open and coffee steaming beside her. The comforting buzz of conversation filled the air, but her attention was focused on the screen. As she typed, she couldn't help but glance at the door now and then, waiting for her best friend Mick to arrive. Mick was different. He wasn't like the guys who often entered the shop, dressed in tailored suits or trendy styles. No, Mick had his own vibe, often wearing oversized sweatshirts and sneakers that looked like they had seen better days. Jenna liked to tease him about it, calling it the "I just strolled out of bed" look, but deep down she adored those quirks. To her, it was a part of who he was, unapologetically himself. When Mick finally strolled in, Jenna waved him over, a grin breaking out across her face. She laughed, gesturing at his baggy hoodie plastered with a faded logo. Mick shrugged, unbothered. "It's cozy." "It's a coffee shop, not a sleepover," she quipped, teasing him expertly. Mick rolled his eyes, giving her a playful push as he sat down. She chuckled, but inside she felt a flicker of guilt. Mick was genuinely unconcerned about fashion. His mind was always buzzing with creative ideas, art projects, and the latest video game strategies. In contrast, Jenna had a job at a marketing firm where appearances mattered. She wanted to fit in, to stand out, but often felt the pressure that came with it. They spent hours talking about their lives, moving from one topic to another, movies, dreams, and plans for the weekend. But as the conversation turned lighter, Jenna found herself slipping back into her teasing. "You know, you really should think about updating that wardrobe," Mick replied, shrugging. His words hung in the air, making Jenna pause, but she quickly brushed it off. It was just their usual banter, after all. They left the coffee shop later, a comfortable silence settling between them. Jenna couldn't shake the guilt from her earlier comments, but she convinced herself it was all in good fun. Days turned into weeks and the teasing continued. Jenna, still feeling that pressure at work, started to put more thought into her own appearance, hoping to rise in the ranks. Mick, on the other hand, remained the same carefree spirit. He didn't mind that dress codes existed, they simply didn't apply to him. One weekend, Jenna found herself scrolling through social media when a notification pinged on her phone. It was from Mick. Her heart raced as she opened it, but a sinking feeling crashed over her when she saw the message. Jenna's pulse quickened. There was something about his request that felt serious. He wanted her help. She quickly typed back, "Of course." Mick replied, "I've been selected to showcase my artwork." The news hit her like a thunderclap. She felt a mix of pride and disbelief. Mick, her unassuming friend, was making waves in the art world. Somewhere deep inside, she had always known he was talented, but to see him stepping out into the spotlight lit a fire in her. She gathered herself and suggested they meet at the coffee shop the next day to brainstorm ideas. Unbeknownst to her, a part of her drama-fueled imagination kicked in, picturing Mick in a perfectly tailored suit, effortlessly charming everyone at the gallery. The next day, Jenna arrived at the shop earlier, her mind racing with thoughts of fashion. Should she go formal or keep it casual? Would Mick look best in bold colors or muted tones? The possibilities felt endless. When Mick came through the door, there was a spark of nervousness in his eyes. He asked, pulling up a few sketches of his latest pieces. "Wow," Jenna said, genuinely impressed. As they discussed his artwork, she devised a plan for his outfit. "Okay, here's what we're gonna do," she said confidently. Mick raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure I won't look?" Jenna laughed, sensing his hesitation. "Trust me, you'll look like an artist who knows what he's doing." As they crafted the perfect look together, Jenna felt a wave of excitement wash over her. Helping Mick was turning into something more than just fashion advice. It was about presenting the real him to the world, one that she had always known but he had yet to embrace fully. By the time the gallery night arrived, Jenna had dressed Mick in a fitted navy blazer, a crisp white tee, and dark jeans that hugged his form perfectly. As they stood in front of the mirror, Mick turned to her, a mixture of anxiety and excitement playing on his features. "I can't believe I'm doing this," he murmured. "Believe it," Jenna encouraged, her voice soft but steady. They walked into the gallery, the atmosphere electric with conversations and laughter. Jenna felt a spark of pride as she watched Mick mingle, his confidence growing with each interaction. The way he spoke about his art with passion and clarity drew people in, and she couldn't help but admire him even more. Time slipped away, and Jenna stood to the side, watching it all unfold like a movie. Mick was shining. Then she noticed a group of industry professionals approaching him, laughter spilling over their conversations. One of them, a well-known curator, extended her hand towards Mick, and as he took it, Jenna felt a flutter of hope for her friend. This was his moment. As the night wore on, Mick waved Jenna over, his expression almost euphoric. "You won't believe it." That simple sentence sent a thrill through Jenna. "I knew they would." But then, as if sensing something, Mick's smile faded slightly. Jenna felt the urgency in his voice. He shook his head. "Okay, it's time to change that," she said, ready to jump into action. "I'll help you set everything up tomorrow." With that, the night ended on a high note, but the real work was just beginning. The next day, Jenna helped Mick create an Instagram account, setting the stage for his art. As they clicked away on his phone, he seemed to glow with enthusiasm. Photos of his artwork, captions about his process, and little bits of humor filled the feed. But then, in a moment of silence, Mick turned to her. "You know, I never really thanked you for helping me last night." She smiled, her heart swelling with warmth. "You don't have to thank me." The two continued working, curating Mick's online presence. They laughed, reminisced, and even got lost in some nostalgic memories, sharing the stories behind their friendship. But as they dove deeper into the digital world, Mick's request suddenly struck her again. He prompted, leaning closer. "What if you let go of that 'I don't care' vibe? I mean, you have this amazing opportunity ahead of you now." Mick paused, his gaze distant. "No, not who you are, but maybe just part of your image," Jenna answered, trying to clarify her thoughts. "You've got the talent, Mick." He considered it, and Jenna felt a twinge of hope and anxiety intertwining. Seconds passed, stretching into minutes, until Mick finally nodded slowly. "Okay." With that, they wrapped up their session, and Mick started to post his first images. But a few days later, Jenna opened her inbox to find a direct message from him. "Are you free?" Curiosity filled her as she immediately replied, "Of course." When they met up again, Jenna sensed a change in him. He was more confident, more sure of himself. "I want to talk about updating my style," he said, catching her off guard. She exclaimed, not able to hide her surprise. "Yeah, I've been thinking about what you said." Jenna couldn't contain her excitement. "Let's do this." They spent hours planning out new outfits together, considering colors and styles that would elevate his look but still reflect who he was. Mick began to step outside of his comfort zone, and Jenna felt pride bubble up inside her as she helped him explore this new side of himself. Weeks passed, and the gallery's success turned into a new chapter for Mick. He gained followers and attention, but more importantly, he embodied a new level of confidence. The teasing that once came so easily from Jenna faded, morphing into admiration. Mick didn't just shine at his gallery opening, he was evolving both in art and in life. And for Jenna, watching her best friend take these steps forward became the most rewarding experience. It wasn't just about clothes, it was about realizing that there is power in stepping out of your comfort zone and embracing change, and in seeing the beauty that truly shines within someone, especially when they let their true self be seen. As they walked down the street, his new tailored jacket fitting perfectly, Jenna felt her heart swell with pride. She had been on this journey with him, and in the end, it turned out that it was as much about discovering oneself as it was about supporting one another. She said softly, determined to say what had been on her mind. He turned to her, a sparkle of gratitude in his eyes. "And I'll always be me, Jenna." And with that simple statement, they both understood changes could be made, but friendship and authenticity would always remain steadfast in their hearts. Together, they had both grown, and the world now had the privilege of seeing their light shine even brighter. The sound of laughter echoed through the small cafe, where a group of friends sat in a corner, sipping their drinks and enjoying a shared moment. Among them was Mia, her eyes glimmering with mischief as she spotted her friend Jake walking in. She couldn't help the smirk that stretched across her face when he entered, wearing his usual outfit, an oversized hoodie with a graphic that had seen better days and baggy jeans that looked like they belonged in a thrift store. Mia called out, laughter bubbling from her. The others turned, and the laughter intensified. Jake's cheeks flushed as he rolled his eyes, the comfortable banter enveloping him like a warm blanket. "You clearly don't know what comfort looks like," he shot back with a grin, but the teasing had left its mark. He knew Mia was just having fun, yet a small part of him wished for a different reaction, a moment where his style didn't come under fire. As he joined them, Mia continued, "I mean, Jake, you could at least try. You might attract someone if you looked a little more." The group chuckled, and with every remark, Jake felt a pang of self-doubt creep in. He loved his comfort, but sometimes he longed for a change, a spark of something more, but that wasn't the point. Mia was his best friend. They had a bond forged through years of shared experiences. Throughout the day, they talked about school, dreams, and what lay ahead. But as the conversation flowed, something stirred within Jake. He wanted to push against the edges of his comfort zone. Why not blend a little comfort with style? The next morning in class, while taking notes, Jake couldn't shake the thought of Mia's playful jabs. He glanced at his reflection in a window and frowned at his own appearance. Maybe a little change wouldn't hurt. Later, back at home, an idea struck him. He scrolled through social media, searching for inspiration. There were countless style influencers showcasing their unique looks. Something clicked, and with every image he swiped through, Jake felt the flame of determination ignite inside him. He took a deep breath, feeling both anxious and excited. Days passed, and Jake put his plan into action. He ventured out into the world, trying on clothes that pushed the boundaries of his comfort zone. He learned about layering, colors, and styles that held a certain flair while still feeling like him. A fitted jacket here, some stylish sneakers there. The transformation was surprisingly enjoyable. Before he knew it, Jake had put together a series of outfits. They felt good, and more than that, he felt good wearing them. Still, Mia's teasing hung at the back of his mind like a shadow, which he even noticed. One sunny afternoon, they met up again at the same cafe. Confidence surged within him as he walked through the door. He felt like a new person, but the question lingered. Would Mia recognize the change? Mia sat at their usual round table, her hair cascading over her shoulders, focused on her phone. When she finally looked up, the surprise on her face was palpable. Her eyes widened and her jaw dropped slightly as she took him in. "Whoa," he couldn't help but smile, feeling a rush of pride. Her tone was genuinely astonished, but there was a spark in her voice that ignited something deep within him. Her words resonated in the cafe, the ambience shifting ever so slightly. Jake felt the approval wash over him, a wave of validation he hadn't anticipated. They talked and laughed, and for the first time he felt like he belonged in his own skin. Days turned into weeks, and with every outing, Jake's confidence blossomed. He shared their time together without the armor of self-doubt that had once held him back. But as he let go of the past, he found himself facing a new challenge. One evening, while he was scrolling through his phone, a notification popped up in his inbox. It was from Mia. The message read, "Hey, can I get your opinion on something?" Curiosity piqued, Jake quickly typed back, "Of course." Seconds felt like minutes until another notification vibrated through the silence. "I have this big gathering coming up, and I'm kind of at a loss about what to wear." He stared at his phone, his heartbeat quickening. The two of them had always relied on each other for advice, but this request felt different. Mia, who had always been sharp and confident, needed his help. It was unexpected, to say the least. His fingers flew across the keyboard as he replied, "Absolutely." As the day approached, Jake couldn't shake the butterflies flitting around in his stomach. What could he possibly teach her? This was the girl who had playfully mocked him for the way he dressed, and now she was asking for his fashion advice. When they met up the following week, Mia arrived looking stunning, her usual vibrant personality matching her outfit. But there was an anxious edge in her eyes, a flicker of insecurity that surprised him. "I know this is supposed to be a fun gathering, but I really want to make a good impression," she confessed, biting her lip. He nodded, understanding the weight of that pressure. It was something he had just experienced. Transformation often felt daunting, especially when expectations loomed. "Let's find you something that feels like you, but with a little extra flair," he suggested. Mia smiled, her confidence slowly returning. They embarked on a shopping adventure together, combing through racks of clothes and engaging in spirited debates about styles and colors. It was fascinating to see her come alive in a way he hadn't anticipated, her shy demeanor breaking apart to reveal someone eager to embrace a new look. Mia suggested, holding up a flowing sundress. "Definitely. It's colorful and fun, just like you," Jake said, grinning. With every outfit they explored, Jake could feel a bond strengthening between them, the laughter spilling over into genuine conversation. They hunted for patterns, textures, and styles that balanced comfort with flair. In those moments, he saw her battling her own thoughts, wrestling with her own insecurities. "Being different can be scary," she admitted, watching herself in the mirror as she tried on a fitted top. Jake took a deep breath, remembering his own journey. "Mia, people will always have their opinions, but the most important thing is how you feel about yourself." With each outfit Mia tried, her confidence grew. Eventually, she found the perfect look that made her feel both beautiful and empowered. It was a complete transformation, one that mirrored his own. When they returned home, Jake felt a sense of joy swell within him. Helping Mia had allowed him to reflect on his journey, and here they were, two friends challenging each other and growing together. The day of the gathering arrived, and Mia stood in front of the mirror, looking radiant in her chosen outfit. She turned to Jake, who was giving her a thumbs up. "Thank you for believing in me," she said, her voice genuine. As she left, they hugged tightly, two friends on the brink of new chapters in their lives. The air buzzed with excitement. Both of them were ready to face the world as their truer selves. Days turned into weeks again. Mia impressed people at the gathering, her confidence shining through. She gained new friends, and the way she fostered connections showed just how much of a transformation she had made. Jake reveled in this new phase of their friendship, even as he returned to his routine. But something unexpected happened one evening. When he opened his social media, he saw a notification from Mia's account, a direct message that read, "I have another favor to ask." Unease flickered within him. What did she need this time? They had both stepped outside their comfort zones. Had things altered again? A million thoughts raced through his mind as he responded, "I'm here." Moments later, her reply came through, "I've been thinking about my new style. I want to take it to the next level." Jake's heart pounded. A makeover, like, yes. "You helped me find what works for me." The eagerness in her words filled him with determination, but another part of him felt fear. What if he let her down like so many people had done to him? He blinked rapidly, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders, but deep down a voice reminded him they had come this far. "Okay," he replied, excitement spilling over. The days passed as they planned Mia's new look, discussing styles that represented not just an exterior change, but an internal evolution as well. They watched videos, browsed online stores, and gathered a whirlwind of ideas to bring her vision to life. As they began the makeover journey, Jake found his own apprehensions dissipating. Guiding Mia not only fueled his creative instincts, but he witnessed how each choice she made reflected her newfound confidence. The daily interactions became a lively exchange of ideas, laughter, and once again, camaraderie. Finally, the day of Mia's spectacular transformation dawned. In the same mirror where she had first tried on her newly found style, Mia looked at herself this time as an entirely new version of herself. Jake stood by her side, amazed. "Wow," he exclaimed, pride swelling in his chest. Mia grinned, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Thank you for everything, I feel. They walked out together, the world waiting just beyond the door, and Jake knew this bond, this partnership rooted in encouragement and growth was unlike any other. As they ventured into the new horizon, they would face challenges together. Stepping into the unknown, neither Jake nor Mia would ever look back. The teasing that once held them captive transformed into a journey of friendship, shared creativity, and a passion for exploring the vibrant colors of their lives. The journey had just begun, each day a chance to shine in ways they had never imagined before. With every step forward, they embraced the beauty of vulnerability, the thrill of discovery, and the power of connection. Their laughter resonated through the streets as they became the best versions of themselves, two friends rewriting their narratives, side by side, ready to conquer the world. The door swung open with a squeak, and as the bell chimed overhead, Megan caught sight of him, Dylan. She couldn't help but roll her eyes. There he stood in his usual getup, a faded red hoodie, baggy jeans, and those scuffed sneakers that looked like they had traveled through time. To anyone else, he was just a regular guy, but to Megan, he was a walking punchline. She called out as he walked to the counter, trying to suppress her laughter. What's next? He glanced over his shoulder, a hint of a smile teasing his lips, but there was a shadow of discomfort in his eyes. It stung a little more than intended, her words sharp as she'd meant them to be playful. Dylan had always been on the quieter side, lost in his sketches and graphic novels, and Megan never took him as seriously as she should have. Yet everyone knew what was coming next. He'd shrug it off like he always did, adapt to the friendly teasing without actually changing a thing, because that's just who Dylan was. He was comfortable in his style, but was comfort enough. The coffee shop buzzed with warmth and chatter as they all settled at their usual spot. The group chatted, sharing stories and laughter, but there was an invisible line drawn between Megan's lighthearted jabs and Dylan's silence. She knew she should ease back, but there was something oddly satisfying about her playful taunts. She asked him once, unable to hide the curiosity behind her mockery, but did he really? Or was hiding behind comfort just a way to mask his insecurities? As their usual banter continued, Megan felt a strange pang of guilt nudge her thoughts. She didn't mean to cut him down, but it was like a game, feeding off each other's energies. Still, was she doing more harm than good? Weeks passed, seasons shifted, and the air outside grew colder. The cafe was a recurring safe haven as life moved along. Megan often noticed Dylan in his same old routine, a slight sadness hanging in the air around him that nobody talked about. He laughed closed-mouthed, rarely engaging in deep conversations. It bothered her more than she cared to admit, but she pushed those thoughts aside like they didn't matter. Then one crisp afternoon, as the leaves turned to gold and red, something changed. Dylan entered the cafe, but this time there was a spark in his eyes she had never seen before. He rushed over to Megan, his excitement palpable. "Megan," he exclaimed, breathless. Megan asked, caught off guard. "I got an opportunity." Her heart raced with joy for him, disbelief still swirling in her mind. "Oh wow, that's amazing," but as reality settled, her smile faltered. His face dropped a bit, uncertainty clouding his excitement. "I mean, not really, I was just going to wear, no. The words flew before her mind caught up, images of an unkempt Dylan standing in front of artsy elites flashing through her thoughts. "You need something that matches your talent." "Right," he said softly, like the wind had been knocked out of him. But as the days flew by, Megan started to notice the change within herself. She wanted more for him, and that desire sparked something deeper inside her, a growing conflict between her earlier teasing and her new role as his supporter. Would he ever ask her for help? Would she ever really push him? Finally, a week before the gallery show, Megan's phone buzzed as she sat at her desk. The screen lit up with a message from an unexpected name, Dylan. "Hey, can you come over?" Surprise flooded over her, her heart drumming in her chest. He needed her. A rush of excitement ran through her as she replied, "Of course, just come over. I think we need to talk," his message read. A blend of curiosity and anxiety filled her as she walked to his house that afternoon. Each step felt heavy with anticipation. What could he possibly need from her? This was so out of character for him. When she arrived, Dylan welcomed her in, his nervous energy crackling in the air. "Thanks for coming," he said, his voice almost trembling. Megan's heart soared. "Really? Yeah. I don't know what to wear and I can't just show up in a hoodie," he confessed, rubbing the back of his neck, his vulnerability shining through. Megan smiled, her thoughts racing. This was her moment. No more teasing, this was about lifting him up. "Let's do this," she said, confidence spilling into her voice. After diving into his closet, they rummaged through clothes that had long been forgotten, rediscovering old shirts and jeans. Megan suggested a fitted blazer that had been collecting dust. "This will look great on you," Dylan hesitated, glancing at his reflection in the mirror. "It is you just have to embrace it." The room was thick with a mix of anticipation and apprehension as he tried on one outfit after another. With every passing moment, his confidence began to build. They laughed, trying different combinations. Slowly, he started to see a glimmer of the vibrant person he had been hiding. "See," Megan said, excitement bubbling up. They ended up settling on a fitted black shirt, crisp jeans, and that blazer all tailored to accentuate his frame. It was as if he was shedding the layers of doubt. He looked sharp, the confidence radiating off him like a spotlight. Later that night, as Dylan stood in front of his mirror admiring the results, something shifted between them. The playful jabs were gone, replaced by newfound respect. Megan realized how much she liked this side of him, and for the first time she acknowledged her initial teasing may have held him back from finding this version of himself. "You're going to blow everyone away at that show," she said, her voice almost a whisper, the gravity of the moment sinking in. Dylan turned to her, a softness in his eyes. "Thanks, Megan." The evening of the gallery showcase arrived, and Megan helped him get ready, their shared nervousness simmering to excitement. The venue was buzzing with creativity, art pieces hanging on vibrant walls, the air thick with conversation and admiration. As they entered together, Dylan's presence transformed the room. He owned it, his art took center stage, but his new style drew just as much attention. People turned, eyes widening, nudging each other to glance at him as he moved among the crowds. Megan watched in awe as he interacted with fellow artists and enthusiasts, a confidence she never knew he had. He wasn't just blending in, he was shining. Hours passed, and with every compliment thrown his way, Dylan's smile widened. As they wrapped up the evening, he turned to Megan, who could only feel pride for him swell in her chest. They stepped outside, the cool night air clearing their minds, filled with chatter from the gallery. He exclaimed, his energy soaring. "I knew you could do it," she said, beaming. But as they walked back to their cars, she felt a weight pull at her. "Dylan," he asked, curiosity sparking in his eyes. "I've realized that I'm sorry for how I treated you before. Teasing you about your clothes wasn't my intention to bring you down." The honesty hung between them, heavy yet freeing. "I appreciate that, Megan, and I have to say it means a lot to me." He paused, letting the words sink in. "I wanted to hide behind that hoodie, but now I see I don't need to." The air felt lighter, their connection deepening. They had woven a thread of understanding through their laughter and their honesty. What once was playful jabs turned into something more profound, an acknowledgement of vulnerability that often goes unseen. As they parted ways, Dylan smiled over his shoulder, his eyes shining with gratitude. Megan realized that this was the start of something new. They had helped each other, crossing barriers, evolving separately yet together. Days turned into weeks, and Dylan continued to embrace his new style, feeling more comfortable in his own skin. Megan found herself reflecting on their journey. Those teasing moments could have led to misunderstanding, but instead, they forged a bond that showed the power of uplifting those around us. And as they walked into the future together, both feeling enlightened, it dawned on Megan just how important it was to build each other up. She understood that change often begins with a simple nudge, a new perspective, and the willingness to step out of the shadows. In the end, they discovered not just style, but the beauty of friendship and the strength that can arise from even the simplest acts of kindness. Through it all, Megan and Dylan learned that sometimes our insecurities can lead us to our most brilliant selves, if we only have the courage to help one another find the way. The door swung open, and the small cafe filled with the warm aroma of coffee and baked goods as Rachel strode in, her eyes scanning the room. She spotted him immediately, Adam, seated at their usual corner table, his focus deep in a sketch pad. The moment she saw him, a smirk appeared on her face. His clothes today were even worse than usual, a tattered sweatshirt and cargo shorts that looked like they belonged in a time capsule from the early 2000s. "Wow, Adam, nice fashion choice," Rachel called out, her voice playful but sharp. A few heads turned, snickering softly along with her friends. The teasing felt familiar, and in some twisted way she found it endearing. Adam looked up, his expression a mix of embarrassment and amusement. He shot back, a hint of defiance creeping into his tone. Rachel laughed, but inside she noted the flicker of hurt in his eyes. Hidden beneath the layers of fabric was a sensitive artist, someone who found solace in his art rather than fashion. "You know the saying, dress for the job you want, not the job you have," she teased, approaching his table. But as their friends joined in the laughter and Adam shifted uncomfortably in his chair, a shadow crossed Rachel's mind. Was her humor actually hurting him? She brushed it aside, convincing herself it was just good fun. Still, the image of his soft smile waned as the laughter died down. Weeks rolled by, and the playful jabs continued. Rachel loved his carefree spirit, but couldn't shake the feeling that perhaps she was doing more harm than good. Adam never complained, but maybe that was part of the problem. He simply accepted their teasing, swallowed his pride, and moved on. Then one Friday, while scrolling on her phone, Rachel stumbled upon an event that sent a pulse of excitement through her, an art exhibition showcasing local talent. She quickly tapped the details with a grin, her mind racing to Adam. There was something about this event that felt like it could revive him, a stage where she felt he could truly shine. When she brought it up with him, he seemed less than enthusiastic. "I don't think I'll go," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Not ready." "You've got to be kidding, you're an incredible artist, Adam," Rachel insisted, her passion igniting. He hesitated, looking down at his sketchpad. What if they don't like it? In that moment, Rachel felt a bolt of realization. He was drowning in self-doubt, and for all the teasing she had thrown his way, she hadn't once offered him a way to step out of that shadow. "That's it, we're going shopping," she declared suddenly. He raised an eyebrow, confusion dancing in his eyes. "Your look." Rachel replied, her voice alive with determination. She expected resistance, but he surprised her. "Okay, let's do it," he said reluctantly, a hint of excitement creeping into his voice. The following Saturday, they hit the local shops. Rachel took charge, leading him through the aisles as they sifted through clothes. A fitted shirt here, dark jeans there. She started piecing together a wardrobe for him that truly showcased his uniqueness. With every item he tried on, she could see a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. As Adam stood in front of the mirror, she caught a glimpse of the man he could become. "You look great," he asked, a hint of doubt lingering. "Yes, you're not just dressing to fit in, you're expressing who you are," she said, her voice vibrant with enthusiasm. With his new attire finally in tow, Adam surged with a newfound confidence. He did what Rachel had often seen her friends do, he rocked it. In the next week, he tackled preparations for the exhibition with renewed energy. On the day of the event, Rachel arrived early to help him set up. The gallery buzzed with excitement, the atmosphere alive with creativity. As people flowed in, she watched Adam move about, greeting everyone with a warm smile, his nervousness melting away with each conversation. But as the time approached for him to speak, she noticed the old anxiety creeping back in his hands, fidgeting, his breath quickening. It was their moment, and he was about to drown in self-doubt again. "You've got this, Adam," she encouraged, locking eyes with him. When it was finally time, he took the stage, the spotlight flooding over him. "Thank you everyone for being here tonight." His voice was steady, confidence building around him like armor. But then, unexpectedly, he locked eyes with Rachel in the crowd. "I had someone help me along the way when I thought I couldn't do this," he continued, gesturing toward her. A wave of warmth flooded through Rachel. He was acknowledging her support, but it felt much deeper than that. It was a recognition of their friendship and how he no longer needed to hide. They shared a moment, and in that instant, everything shifted. The hurtful teasing was replaced by something beautiful: growth, vulnerability, and strength. As the night went on, Rachel watched with pride as Adam interacted with attendees, enjoying every bit of attention his art received. The transformation was astonishing. The awkward artist she used to tease was now the star of the show, confident and alive. The difference was remarkable, as if a caterpillar had become a butterfly, finding its place in the world. Afterward, they found a quiet corner of the gallery. "You did amazing tonight," Rachel said, her eyes sparkling. Adam shook his head, his cheeks flushed. "No, we did amazing." That night, a message lit up Rachel's phone, pulling her from her reverie. It was from Adam, saying, "Can we talk?" Immediately, Rachel felt the familiar rush of anticipation. "Of course," she replied. He didn't keep her waiting long. "I've got an idea for my next piece, and I want your input." When Sunday arrived, excitement coursed through her as she prepared for their meeting. Adam arrived, appearing more confident than ever as he entered her room. The creativity within him seemed to bubble, and she was ready to dive into whatever artistic vision he had brewing. Sitting across from each other, he began sharing his ideas, bursting with enthusiasm. "I want to create a series of pieces that reflect how we often hide behind our insecurities." "Wow," Rachel said, her heart throbbing with inspiration. He gazed at her intently. "But I want this project to be more than just about my art. I want to collaborate with others to share their stories as well." Rachel's heart swelled. Absolutely. The conversation flowed, their collaboration igniting creativity in a way they hadn't anticipated. They spent hours brainstorming, laughing, and discovering the layers of their passions. In that colorful atmosphere, both of them were shining brighter than ever, the air electric with possibility. As they wrapped up that evening, Adam looked at her, his eyes gleaming. Rachel nodded, feeling that familiar tug of warmth. He chuckled, the sound genuine, but his expression turned serious. "I still appreciate your honesty, Rachel. You pushed me to confront my insecurities. I was so preoccupied with jokes that I didn't realize how meaningful my support could be," she admitted. Those words lingered in the air like an unspoken pact. What began as superficial teasing morphed into something that strengthened their relationship. They had learned the importance of lifting each other up, and now they were on a shared journey towards self-discovery and empowerment. Days turned into weeks as their collaboration progressed. Rachel scoured the community for artists, connecting them with Adam to share their stories and artwork. The project grew beyond anything they imagined, a mosaic of human emotion, creativity, and resilience. On the opening night of the exhibition dedicated to their project, the gallery buzzed with anticipation. Attendees spilled into the space, and Rachel felt an electric pulse of excitement. This was not just Adam's transformation, but theirs together. As people admired the artwork pieces brimming with vulnerability and courage, Rachel looked over at Adam. He stood at the center, surrounded by captivated listeners. The artist she had once mocked was now commanding the attention of everyone in the room. His heart poured into his work. When the night finally came to a close, they stepped outside, the moon casting a gentle glow around them. Rachel said, her heart full. Adam nodded, a warm smile spreading across his face. "I couldn't have done this without you by my side." "Right back at you," she replied, the words sincere. As they stood there, the newfound understanding between them bridged any gaps that teasing might have once created. They had taken the detours of their lives, his journey from insecurity and her realization of impact, and found strength in vulnerability. The night settled quietly, and Rachel felt content in her heart. A lesson learned: laughter could build walls or tear them down. In their case, it had done both, but ultimately it created a path forward. As they walked away under the stars, it was clear they were more than just friends. They were allies in a world that could often feel daunting. Together, they had embraced the beauty of growth, courage, and shared dreams, discovering that real connection lies in lifting each other up. And that, as they stepped forward, was a treasure worth cherishing. The cafe door swung open with a little jingle, and Emily stepped inside, shaking off the chill of the autumn air. The familiar smell of roasted coffee beans mixed with the sweetness of baked goods wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. She quickly spotted her friend Jason sitting at their usual spot, a small round table by the window, but today something caught her eye. The sight made her stomach twist uncomfortably. She couldn't help but let out a laugh. Really, Jason? His eyes flickered up from his phone, a mixture of embarrassment and annoyance flashing across his face. He shot back defensively. "Are you kidding me?" she quipped, but a twinge of guilt crept in as the laughter echoed around the room, pulling more eyes their way. Jason slumped a little, looking down at his jeans as if they were part of the problem. "I thought it was fun," he murmured, but it sounded hollow even to him. Fun, the word slipped from her lips, and she felt the heat creep to her cheeks. Did she really mean that? He was her friend, she cared about him, but it was just harmless teasing, right? As the playful jabs continued, Emily felt the weight of each one. Jason had always been shy about his fashion choices. Deep down, she knew he had a creative flair but didn't feel comfortable expressing it. The laughter rolled on, but something shifted inside her. Was this really just a game? Days turned into weeks, and their friendship continued with the same rhythm. Emily loved their banter, but somewhere along the way, she felt a sense of unease creep in when it came to Jason's confidence. He seemed less present, more withdrawn with every mocking comment. Yet she brushed it aside, rationalizing that he just had to toughen up. Then came the fateful Friday when Jason walked into the cafe carrying a stack of papers. His eyes were bright, a mix of excitement and anxiety coursing through him. "Emily, you won't believe it." Her heart sank at the news, excitement giving way to dread. "That's amazing," but within that excitement lay the burning question: what would he wear? He sounded both thrilled and terrified. Suddenly, Emily was hit with an idea. "What if I help you find something cool?" At first, he hesitated. "I don't know, Emily. Trust me, let's do it." She insisted, feeling a blend of pride and determination rush through her. That weekend, they ventured out together, a small mission toward a brighter future. As they roamed through shops, she began picking out clothes, from stylish shirts to fitted jeans. Jason remained skeptical, unsure of himself as he tried each outfit, glancing nervously in the mirror. "Come on. This one has your name written all over it," Emily said, holding up a sleek black jacket. Jason grabbed the jacket reluctantly. His voice trailed off, uncertainty hanging heavy in the air. "Yes, it is. Just think about how confident you'll feel wearing it when you present your work," she encouraged, feeling an urge to break through the barriers of his self-doubt. And gradually, as he slipped into clothes that fit better, the transformation began. The shy boy hidden behind oversized hoodies started to emerge, adorned with stylish layers and colors that brought out his eyes. The sullen expression that usually grazed his face began to lift, little by little. "See," she cheered, her enthusiasm spilling over. The next week arrived, and the day of the festival dawned bright and hopeful. Emily watched as Jason slipped into his new outfit, a perfect blend of confidence and creativity. He looked like an artist ready to take the world by storm, a wave of pride swelling in her chest. They arrived at the venue, vibrant with energy. Artists showcased their work while attendees mingled, laughter floating through the air like music. But behind Jason's smile, Rachel caught a glimpse of tension, a shadow curling at the edges. "You ready?" His voice trembled slightly, betraying his bravado. "Remember how hard you've worked. You created amazing pieces," she encouraged, squeezing his shoulder. When it was finally time for him to present, he stood before the crowd, clutching his artwork, breathing deeply. The spotlight cast warmth across his skin as he looked out at the sea of faces, but as he began to speak, the familiar nerves crept back in. He stumbled over his words, glancing down at the floor. Just then, Emily noticed a familiar flicker of insecurity. It broke her heart. She called out, her voice ringing through the crowd. He looked up, and for a brief moment, their eyes met. Something changed in that instant, a spark ignited within him. "Right," he said, lifting his chin. With renewed confidence, he connected with the audience. His passion, his story, and his artistry flowed seamlessly. The room buzzed with excitement as people leaned in closer, captivated by what he had created. As the evening unfolded, she felt a surge of joy as Jason garnered praise, compliments spilling from the guests like confetti. He was finally the artist he had always dreamed of being. Afterward, they found a quiet spot on the patio, away from the crowd. Emily said, her voice warm with pride. Jason chuckled, shaking his head. "I couldn't have done it without you, seriously. Their laughter hung in the air, but a stillness settled around them as they sat side by side. Emily took a deep breath, finally confronting her guilt. "I want to say I'm sorry for how I treated you before. Sometimes I poked fun without realizing it hurt." Jason turned to her, expression softening. "I appreciate that, Emily. Honestly, your teasing pushed me to think about who I want to be, but I also think I needed someone to remind me that it's okay to be vulnerable." In that moment, everything shifted. Where teasing had only built walls, they had found a bridge. Emerging on the other side was a profound understanding. Friendships could blossom through support, lifting each other up through experiences. Weeks turned into months, and as they walked through the gallery where his pieces now hung, everything felt different. Jason's confidence surged and he began to flourish, taking creative risks, seeking inspiration. He started participating in multiple art shows, showcasing not only his work but also his personality. Then one afternoon, a notification chimed on Rachel's phone, a direct message from Jason. A mixture of excitement and curiosity filled her as she quickly typed back, "Of course, let's meet up tomorrow." When they met, Jason looked different. He was buzzing with energy, excitement practically radiating from him. "Emily, I want to create a series reflecting identity, and I want your insight." "Wow," she exclaimed, her heart soaring. "I want it to be interactive, to gather stories from people about their own journeys, their struggles. I'd love you to help me organize it and bring it to life," he said, enthusiasm shimmering in his eyes. Over the following weeks, they collaborated closely, mapping out what the project would look like. Together, they reached out to local communities, gathering stories, some raw, some hopeful, and piecing them together with Jason's artwork. The response was overwhelming. People came forward, sharing their experiences, and the project began to blossom in ways they hadn't imagined. On the day of the launch, they transformed a local gallery into a sanctuary of stories. Emily stood back, watching Jason interact with attendees, sharing insights about his inspiration. Finally, they were ready to unveil the project. As the crowd gathered, Jason stepped up to the microphone and Emily squeezed his hand for reassurance. "This journey started when I learned to embrace my insecurities," he began, his voice steady. The crowd listened intently as he shared not only his journey but the stories of those who had contributed. Powerful words interlaced with his artwork filled the space, leaving emotions hanging in the air. It was a celebration of not just his art but the connections forged through shared experiences. When the applause erupted, Jason looked at Emily, his eyes shining with gratitude. He exclaimed, overwhelmed with joy. The warmth of their friendship enveloped them, stronger than ever. In that moment, surrounded by laughter and creative energy, Emily realized that it wasn't just Jason's artistic journey that had evolved. They had both grown, expanded beyond their comfort zones, and strengthened their bond through the shared experience of vulnerability. As they cleaned up after the event, Emily took a moment to reflect on their journey together. From playful teasing to deep-rooted friendship built on support and growth, she felt grateful for the way they had lifted each other up. Through art and shared experiences, they had found a way to embrace their true selves, while the world around them glimmered with possibility. She couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement for what the future might hold for them, intertwined in a journey that celebrated their individuality and friendship. In the end, it was a testament to the idea that sometimes the paths to discovering ourselves and uplifting each other can emerge from the unlikeliest beginnings. Together, they had turned teasing into triumph, transforming their narratives and growing into the people they were always meant to be. The loud clank of the cafeteria trays echoed against the walls, mixed with the lively chatter of students. In the corner, Sarah spotted him, Jake, her friend since childhood, sitting alone at a table with a pile of books and his usual fashion choice, a faded, oversized hoodie and threadbare jeans. He looked like he'd just rolled out of bed, and for some reason it struck her funny this day. Sarah walked over, a grin forming on her lips. "Hey Jake, what's with the outfit?" He looked up, a hint of embarrassment creeping into his eyes. "No, it's just comfortable," he replied, trying to sound casual, but Sarah could see the flicker of self-doubt behind his tough exterior. She gestured dramatically at his hoodie, the laughter infectious, spilling over to the nearby students. A few chuckled, though it felt harsh to her in the moment, like the world was joining in on the joke. Jake shrugged, his usual confident demeanor fading a bit as he glanced around, catching the eyes of others. "Whatever, Sarah." The playful banter continued as they chatted about their plans for the weekend, but under the surface, Sarah felt a little twinge gnawing at her. Jake always laughed off her jabs regarding his clothes, but today it felt heavier, and she had no idea why. Was she just poking fun, or was she unintentionally tearing down someone who already felt insecure? Days turned into weeks, and the teasing faded into a routine, but something shifted in Jake. He became quieter, more reserved in their conversations. The laughter they had shared bore an awkward strain. It wasn't just the clothes, it was more than that, an unseen weight pressing down on him. One afternoon, while scrolling through her social media feed, Sarah stumbled upon an announcement for the annual talent showcase at their school. There were themes of creativity, self-expression, and individuality woven throughout the details. A thought sparked in her mind. but when she brought it up, she was taken aback by his reaction. "No way, I'm not doing that," he almost barked, his voice tinged with frustration. "Why not?" Sarah pressed, searching for the right words. "Yeah, well, nobody wants to see that, especially me in front of a crowd," Jake protested, crossing his arms tightly against his chest. Sarah's heart raced. She could see the glimmer of talent in him, but it was buried beneath layers of doubt. "You don't have to look perfect to shine on stage, Jake." The conversation collapsed, leaving an awkward silence between them like an unfinished puzzle. Jake stood there, shifting his weight and avoiding her gaze. She saw it then, the struggle, the internal battle. Her words, so well-intentioned, were at odds with the shame he felt. Weeks passed, and the day of the talent showcase loomed closer. Sarah wrestled with her own conscience, wondering if her jests had played a part in holding Jake back. Hurting him had never been her intention, but every quip seemed to push him further into a shell. Then, in the glow of her late-night phone glow, a message arrived from Jake. Her heart raced. Of course, the reply came quickly. The gravity of his words sent a thrill down her spine. Knowing how much it took for him to reach out made her apprehensive yet excited. She replied, "Sure." The next day they met at their favorite cafe, the smell of coffee thick in the air. Jake sat in the corner, a tangle of papers sprawled across the table. He looked up, and Sarah could see he had been deep in thought. "I've been thinking a lot about the showcase," he started, more serious than usual. "Really?" She held her breath, her heart pounding. "I want to do it," he said, determination framing his features. Sarah's pulse quickened. "Of course, I want to find an outfit that feels right, something that shows who I really am," he confessed, vulnerability settling over him. In that moment, it was as if the clouds lifted. Finally, they could step beyond the jabs, an opportunity to redefine their friendship. "Let's do it," she said, her voice light yet encouraging. The next weekend, Sarah and Jake hit the shops, an unlikely team on a mission. As they wandered through clothing racks, she began to see the nervous excitement spark in his eyes. He held up a fitted shirt with a vibrant design that screamed individuality. Jake hesitated. "No, it's awesome." As they continued, a few pieces caught her eye that she knew would transform his demeanor entirely. A sharp jacket, clean sneakers, and fitted jeans. Something clicked inside him as they sifted through the clothes, and she could practically see the gears turning in his mind. With every outfit he tried on, she saw Jake blossom into someone new, a confident, proud artist stepping into his own. At one point, he even smiled at his reflection, and the moment felt both monumental and delicate. "See," Sarah beamed, feeling the excitement swell within her. The day of the talent showcase arrived, the atmosphere electric with creativity. Jake stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his new outfit, his heart racing. "I can't believe I'm actually doing this," he muttered. "Just be yourself, Jake. The audience wants to connect with you and your art," Sarah encouraged, standing by him, grounding him with her presence. As they walked into the school auditorium buzzing with attendees, Jake seemed to tense, his brows furrowed with anxiety. But he stood tall beside her, the vibrant colors of his outfit acting like a shield against his inner fears. When it was finally his turn to present, the spotlight washed over him, illuminating his nervous smile. In that moment, Sarah remembered those weeks of silence, the way he had buried himself beneath layers of doubt. Taking a deep breath, he spoke, "Hi, everyone." The confidence in his voice made her heart swell, and for the first time, she truly believed in him. As he displayed his artwork, every brush stroke spoke volumes. He shared the stories behind each piece, his struggles, his dreams, and the transformation he had undergone with the help of those around him. The connection radiated from him, and she could see the audience engaged, leaning in closer. When he finished, the applause erupted, and emotions swirled in the room like a colorful painting. Jake stepped off the stage, flushed with excitement, and Sarah rushed to greet him, her joy palpable. "You were incredible," she laughed, hugs and high-fives exchanged. "Thanks, Sarah," he said, still breathless with exhilaration. As their friends joined them, Jake was no longer just the funny guy with the outdated wardrobe. He was an artist, embraced and celebrated. But even amidst the victory, the magic of that moment faded away, and Sarah felt something shift between them. Later that night, while lying in bed, she opened her phone, an unexpected notification pinging in her inbox. It was from Jake. "Hey, Sarah." Her heart skipped a beat. "Of course," she replied, curiosity swirling within her. The next day, she arrived at the cafe, nerves twisting in her stomach. Was he going to tell her that her teasing had gone too far? Her breath quickened as she found him, looking more serious than she had ever seen him. "I want to thank you for everything you did. Helping me find an outfit and encouraging me, it changed something in me," he confessed, his voice steady but sincere. Yet she couldn't shake that familiar twinge of guilt. "I'm just glad you found your voice," she replied softly, her heart racing. "Stop," he interrupted, raising his hand gently. "You taught me something valuable. There's no shame in asking for help or stepping outside of my comfort zone. You made me realize that friendship is about lifting each other up." He took a breath and continued, "Now that I've taken that leap into my art, I want to make an impact. I'm thinking about organizing a community project where we showcase the unique stories of people in our town through art." "A community project," Sarah exclaimed, the excitement bubbling within her. "Of course, I'll help." As they began brainstorming ideas for the project, Sarah felt the familiar thrill return, this time without the pang of insecurity. Their friendship blossomed into something dynamic and inspiring, fueled by a shared vision of creativity and community connection. Days turned into weeks as they reached out to local artists and gathered stories, weaving them together with Jake's exceptional talent. The positive energy ignited, and as word spread, people began to reach out to share their stories and art. On the day of the project showcase, the venue was alive with energy, filled with laughter and conversation. Sarah looked around, a sense of pride swelling within her as she witnessed the culmination of their hard work. In that colorful crowd, she spotted Jake standing confidently beside his artwork, vibrant pieces artfully adorned with the shared stories around them. He approached her, his smile infectious. "Yes, we did," she cheered, savoring the rush of excitement. As they welcomed guests and shared anecdotes about the art, Rachel saw the transformation was complete. Jake had become a powerful voice within their community, celebrating individuality and creativity, inspiring others to embrace their unique stories too. When the night finally came to close, as revelers began to leave, Sarah leaned against the wall, catching her breath. She said, unable to hide her excitement. Jake laughed. As they stood together, basking in the glow of their success, Sarah realized the importance of their journey. She learned that friendships could transcend the pitfalls of insecurity and teasing, transforming into something much deeper and enriching. Life moved forward, and Sarah continued supporting Jake, promoting his work while sharing her own creative outlets. Together, they fostered a sense of camaraderie and strength, celebrating each other in ways they had never imagined possible. What started as playful taunts transformed into an unbreakable bond built on trust, creativity, and resilience. In the end, it was never just about clothes or art. It was about the courage to step out of the shadows, to embrace who they truly were, and to show that true strength lies in supporting one another as they navigate the colorful tapestry of their lives. The cafe buzzed with life, steam rising from cups and laughter mixing with the sound of clinking silverware. Emily pushed the door open and a small bell chimed, announcing her arrival. She spotted him immediately, Mark, sitting alone at their usual corner table, buried deep in his sketchbook. Today he was wearing a neon green hoodie that looked like it had been pulled straight from the clearance rack, paired with faded jeans and worn-out sneakers. Emily raised an eyebrow, a grin tugging at the corners of her mouth. She couldn't help herself as she walked over. "Nice outfit, Mark. Do you always dress so?" He looked up, a flicker of embarrassment flashing across his face. "What's wrong with it?" He replied, trying to sound confident, but she could see that her words hit home. "Oh, come on," her laughter rang out, slicing through the hum of conversation. The few people nearby turned to glance, some chuckling along, but she noticed Mark's smile fade slightly. "Right, because fashion advice from you is exactly what I need," he shot back, feigning a grin but failing to hide the hurt in his eyes. She waved a dismissive hand. "Hey, I'm just saying you could be the hottest artist in this place." As the playful teasing continued, Emily felt a knot tighten in her stomach. It always seemed harmless, their banter, but she began to wonder if she was actually chipping away at his confidence. Mark had a unique talent for art. He poured his soul into every pencil stroke, yet here he was, a creative force buried beneath layers of self-doubt and questionable fashion choices. Weeks passed. Emily saw Mark often, each time slipping back into the routine of playful jabs. But with every mocking comment, she noticed him shrink a little bit more. He laughed along, but the light in his eyes dimmed, and the spark of confidence that used to characterize her friend seemed to flicker like a dying candle. Then came that fateful Friday, the day everything changed. Emily scrolled through her phone while waiting for her drink when she stumbled upon the announcement. The local art showcase was around the corner. It was a chance for artists to display their work, to shine. Emily's heart raced. This could be it, she quickly texted Mark. "You have to apply for the art showcase." A few moments passed before he replied, "I don't think I should." "Don't say that, you've created some amazing pieces." After what felt like an eternity, his response came back. "I don't think public is my scene." "Mark, what do you mean? You're an artist, this is your moment." She took a deep breath, trying to keep her tone light despite her frustration. The words hung between them, the weight of self-doubt clear as day. For the first time, Emily realized the real issue. It wasn't just about clothing, it was about his confidence, his perception of himself. She set her phone down, suddenly feeling like a villain in her friend's story. The teasing had masked a deeper insecurity, and she had failed to see it. A week later, while lost in her thoughts about Mark, her phone pinged. When she glanced at the screen, it was a direct message from him. "Can we meet up?" Her heart leaped. "Of course, I'm here for you," she replied, a mix of excitement and trepidation bubbling within her. They met at the same cafe the next day. Mark sat at a table, a nervous fidget in his fingers as he tapped on his leg. "I've been really thinking about the showcase," he started, looking more serious than she'd ever seen him. "Good." Emily leaned in, feeling hope flutter in her chest. He hesitated, then pressed on. "I need your help with my look. I don't want to just blend in." Her heart soared. This was it, the moment where she could redeem herself and be the friend he needed. Of course, as they walked around, Emily felt a sense of purpose invigorate her. They hit the local boutiques and shops, searching high and low for the right pieces. The bright colors, patterns, and fabric textures swirled around them as they tried on clothes, laughter gradually replacing the anxious weight hanging over Mark. When they found a fitted blazer that accented his frame perfectly, his face lit up with a spark she hadn't seen in a long time. "Really?" he asked, looking at himself in the mirror with a hint of disbelief. "Absolutely, this brings out your artistic flair. You'll be turning heads at the showcase, trust me," she cheered, her excitement infectious. As the days rolled on, they curated an impressive outfit, a sleek shirt, tailored pants, and polished shoes that screamed confidence. The closer the showcase got, the more she could see the anticipation bubbling in him. Mark was transforming, stepping into a version of himself that had been hidden for too long. Emily asked on the day of the event, her heart drumming in her chest. "I think so," he replied, a grin stretching across his face. The auditorium was filled with eager art enthusiasts, the air thick with anticipation. Mark's nerves began to thrum again, but he stood a little taller, each breath steadying him. When it was time for him to present, he took center stage, holding his artwork with both hands, a bright aura surrounding him. As he spoke about what inspired his pieces, the tremor in his voice disappeared, replaced by unbridled passion. The audience listened intently, mesmerized by his honesty and the intricate details of his work. For the first time, he had a space to express himself without fear of judgment, and it was breathtaking. The laughter and teasing faded away like a distant memory, his self-doubt crumbling as the room vibrated with applause. Afterward, Mark found Emily standing among friends, a wide smile plastered on his face. "I did it." The joy radiating from him was infectious. "See," Emily laughed, her heart swelling with pride. But then he looked at her, and for a moment the joy faded from his eyes. "But I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't been inspired by you. I owe you, Sarah." Emily felt the warmth of affection flooding through her. "You don't owe me anything, Mark. You did this." In that gaze, she saw something shift between them, the unspoken understanding that they were growing together. Friendship was evolving, a deeper connection rooted in support and authenticity. As weeks passed, their bond strengthened, and Mark continued to flourish. He found new opportunities, sometimes even organizing community events to showcase his work. They collaborated more, building an atmosphere of creativity fueled by their friendship. Then one evening, as Emily scrolled through messages, a new notification pinged. Curiosity piqued, she quickly replied, "Of course, let's meet tomorrow." The following day, under the soft glow of the cafe's lights, Mark seemed different, more energized, alive, and vibrant. "I want to start a project that highlights stories of self-acceptance through art," he said, his enthusiasm spilling over. "Wow. That sounds incredible," Emily replied, a rush of excitement flooding through her veins. "I want us to work together on it. I want to include different voices, collaborating with local artists to share their stories of struggle and triumph," he explained passionately. Emily's heart raced. "I'm in. Together we can bring so many stories to light," she exclaimed. And so it began. They reached out to community members, gathering stories infused with emotion and truth. Artists joined in, sharing their experiences, and soon the project blossomed into something remarkable. It became a tapestry of voices, vibrant and rich. On the day of the launch, the local gallery buzzed with energy. People filled every corner, eager to see the display. Emily stood beside Mark, her heart swelling as they welcomed guests. She had never seen him so alive, animated as he shared their vision with everyone who entered. "Thank you for believing in this," he said softly when there was a quiet moment. They stood together, the bond of their friendship stronger than ever, cracking the fabric of self-doubt between them. Each shared laugh and exhale of creativity built a connection that spun outwards with endless possibilities. When the evening came to a close, the gallery lit up with pride and new friendships. Emily watched as Mark spoke with guests, his voice clear, his confidence radiating. He had transformed completely, from that shy guy in a neon hoodie to a powerful artist whose courage inspired both him and everyone around him. Under the soft glow of the streetlights outside, they talked about the success of the event. "I never thought I'd have the guts to speak out like that," Mark admitted, his eyes shining. "It's incredible to witness what you've become," Emily replied, warmth spreading through her chest. "Thank you for being that push I needed," he said, a gentle smile crossing his face, their gazes meeting as they shared the moment. That night they both realized the journey they had traveled together, moments woven with laughter, humility, and introspection. They had walked a path of transformation and self-discovery, learning to lift each other along the way. As they parted ways, they understood that it wasn't just about clothes or confidence. It was about the journey of growing together, facing vulnerabilities, and embracing who they were becoming. In the end, it was a powerful testament to friendship, the idea that sometimes the greatest impact comes from just believing in someone and allowing them to believe in themselves. Together, they had nurtured a garden of creativity and support, and it was blossoming beautifully. The bell on the cafe door jingled, echoing through the crisp afternoon air as Lisa stepped inside. The chatter of students filled the room, their voices mixing with the rich aroma of coffee. She spotted him at their usual spot, Tom, hunched over his laptop, fingers racing across the keyboard. The sight of him made her smile, but that smile faltered when she noticed what he was wearing: a mismatched plaid shirt over a faded graphic tee, paired with cargo shorts and worn-out sneakers. "Oh, Tom," Lisa laughed, unable to hold back. He looked up, his expression shifting from focused to slightly embarrassed. He shot back, trying to sound casual but failing to mask his discomfort. Lisa replied playfully, her voice ringing out. A few nearby tables erupted in laughter, and she could see the color creeping across Tom's cheeks. "I like being comfortable," he muttered, pulling at the hem of his shirt in a futile effort to make it look better. "Comfort is fine, but a little style wouldn't hurt," she teased, but inside she felt a twinge of guilt. Was she crossing a line that day? She knew he was sensitive about his appearance, but mocking him was easy. It was their dynamic. Or at least it had always been. As the weeks rolled by, the jabs continued, but so did the silence that began to hang over Tom during their conversations. He laughed along, but she sensed he was becoming more withdrawn. The brightness in his eyes dimmed with each remark. Then one rainy Thursday afternoon, Lisa heard the familiar ping of her phone. She opened the message and was shocked to see a direct order from Tom. "Can we talk?" Her heart raced. Of course. "A few of us are meeting at the cafe tomorrow," curiosity sparked within her. The next day, a storm rumbled outside as she arrived at the cafe, where the familiar comfort of coffee smelled welcoming. She spotted Tom sitting in a corner, nervously tapping his fingers on the table. He wore a crisp navy shirt and dark jeans, a stark contrast to his usual eccentric style. She exclaimed, genuinely impressed. Tom scratched the back of his neck, a shy grin appearing. "Something like that. Okay, spill." He took a deep breath, clearly gathering his thoughts. "So there's this art competition coming up next month, and..." Lisa's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "Tom, that's amazing, but here's the thing," he continued, his voice growing serious. "I want to present my art in a way that shows who I really am, and I'm nervous." Her chest tightened with excitement and a touch of anxiety. This was new ground for both of them. Their playful banter had just turned into real stakes. "I thought maybe you could help me with my presentation. I want to look good and I want my art to shine," he said, vulnerability oozing from his words. She could see him trembling on the edge of confidence and fear. "Absolutely, we'll make this incredible." The next week saw their friendship blossom into something new. They spent hours brainstorming ideas for Tom's presentation, diving into what made his art unique, what colors to showcase, and what clothes would express that inner artist. On a bright Saturday, they found themselves at a local thrift shop, sifting through racks of clothes. Tom hesitated, fumbling through fabrics, but Lisa pushed him gently. "You need to find something that represents you." As Tom slipped into a navy blazer that fit him like a glove, a smile broke across his face. "Exactly, you're going to turn heads when you present," she encouraged, her heart soaring at his progress. The days flew by, and before they knew it, the night of the competition arrived. Lisa stood beside Tom backstage, the atmosphere buzzing with excitement and nerves. "Just remember, you're an artist." Tom took a deep breath, the air thick with anticipation. "You won't." He nodded, a flicker of determination igniting. The spotlight washed over him as he stepped onto the stage, the audience dimming in the background. "Hi everyone, I'm Tom, and tonight I'd like to share my art with you," he began, his voice steady despite the butterflies swirling in his stomach. As he unveiled his pieces, talking about the inspirations behind each one, something incredible happened. He transformed before their very eyes, from the shy, insecure guy who wore mismatched clothes to an empowered artist commanding the stage. The crowd leaned in, engaged, cheering him on as he shared his story. When he finished, the room erupted with applause. He had done it. Not only had he presented his art, he had stepped into his true self. The moment was electric, their eyes connecting as he came off the stage, beaming with pride. He shouted, exhilaration bubbling. "You were incredible, Tom." She exclaimed, her heart racing alongside his. But amidst the celebration, Lisa didn't notice the gallery director watching Tom closely as he basked in the attention of friends. Something shifted in the air, of tension that felt loaded. The following week, while scrolling through her social media, Lisa saw a post that made her heart stop. It read, she felt elation wash over her but was swiftly accompanied by a feeling of dread. What would this mean for their friendship? Notification pinged shortly after, and Lisa opened her inbox to see a message from Tom. "Can we meet?" Anxiety knotted in her stomach as she anxiously replied, "Sure, tomorrow afternoon at the cafe." The next day, she sat at their corner table, fidgeting with her coffee cup, anticipation swirling in her chest. Tom walked in, his usual nervous energy replaced with an unexpected calm. "Hey, thanks for coming," he said, his tone serious. She waited, watching as he took a seat across from her. She encouraged, her heart racing. His voice was full of a mix of excitement and disbelief. Her heart swelled. He paused, looking down at his hands. "That's where things get complicated. I wasn't sure how to tell you this, but I want you to help me curate the exhibit." Suddenly, the excitement turned heavy with an undertone of fear. "Help you, because you see me. You believed in my art and pushed me to become who I am now." "I can't do this without you," he said, his eyes wide with sincerity. Tears stung her eyes. She felt a blend of pride and fear. Was she ready for this? Would the friend who had once mocked him step up to help him showcase his true self? She replied, some shyness creeping into her voice. Great. His face lit up again and her heart fluttered with the promise of new adventures. But as they talked, planning out ideas and themes for the exhibit, the weight of their past lingered at the edge. The teasing, the laughter, would it come back to haunt them? In the back of her mind, a seed of doubt took root. As they finalized plans, it dawned on Lisa that stepping into this role meant embracing the vulnerabilities they had both been working so hard to overcome. The stakes had changed, with Tom now stepping into a spotlight. Would her old ways of teasing resurface, or would she be able to support him fully? Days turned into a whirlwind as they worked together on the exhibit tower, spent in fevered creativity, painting, brainstorming, and laughing, a bond deeper than either of them expected. But during a late-night planning session, Lisa noticed Tom had grown distant, his gaze lingering on the ground. She asked, concern creeping into her voice. I worry that my art won't be good enough, he murmured, wrapping his arms around his knees. The vulnerability in his admission made her heart ache. Tom, you're amazing, you're already good enough, this is your moment, she encouraged, but doubt flickered in his eyes. And then, as if a storm was brewing, everything shifted. The night of the exhibit came, and Lisa stood in the gallery, the air thick with excitement and tension. The walls were adorned with Tom's artwork, each piece a reflection of his journey of overcoming obstacles and of embracing vulnerability. But the smile on his face was fragile, and she could sense anxiety simmering beneath the surface. Guests filtered in, admiring his work, but she could see it, his hands shaking, the way he struggled to maintain eye contact. She felt her heart race. Just breathe, Tom, he whispered, his voice tinged with fear. Listen to me. Nobody here is judging you, they're here to support you, she insisted, trying to ground him with her presence. As they moved through the crowd, it became clear this was more than just art. It was a testament to their shared journey, to their friendship forged in laughter and vulnerability. But only moments later, the director walked over to them, his expression serious. An icy chill crept through Lisa as she watched Tom step away, his brow furrowing in concern. What could this mean? She could feel the words pounding against her chest, fear mingling with dread. When he returned, the wide eyes and unreadable expression left her breathless. I don't know how to process this, but he wants to showcase my work at a more prestigious gallery, Tom stammered. She gasped, her heart racing again, but she noticed the unease cross his face. Yeah, but it's happening next week. A beat of silence hung between them, the reality settling like a heavy fog. Suddenly, she realized the momentum they had built could spiral out of control. What if he faltered again? What if the pressures of acceptance took hold? Would they fall back into those old patterns? Tom, I don't know if I'm ready for this, he admitted, the strain evident in his voice. Suddenly, everything shifted. In that moment of uncertainty, Lisa's heart raced, splitting between pride for Tom and fear of losing their connection if he slipped back into doubt. Would she remain the friend who built him up, or would her own insecurity bubble to the surface? The stakes had never felt higher. The news of his potential breakout hung in the air like a sword, sharp and dangerous, ready to swing. Could they navigate through this together, or was this the moment that threatened to break them apart? Feeling the overwhelming weight of it all, Lisa gathered her courage. Whatever happens next, I'm here for you, Tom. But as she spoke those words, uncertainty wrapped around them both, leaving the aftermath hanging precariously above. The exhibit was only the beginning, and now, fate had thrown them a curveball, one that would force them both to confront their pasts and redefine their friendship in ways they never imagined. With the gallery filled with the echoes of laughter and inspiration, one question lingered in the air, catching both their breaths as they stood on the precipice of change. Could they take the leap, or would the ghosts of the past pull them back into shadows? Only time would tell.